Welcome to Risky Bitness, where we don't just play retro games, but take a peek under the hood to see what all that beautiful technology can do. Today we'll be continuing our coverage of the Fatal Fury series. My last video came out much longer than I expected, and I know that 20 plus minutes is a long time for a viewer to invest in a YouTube video. So I've decided to make my game video shorter by covering only one game at a time. Because I am releasing one video per week, this will allow me more time playing and recording each game, as well as more time to write the episode. Do you prefer longer or shorter videos? Let me know in the comments. This might not always be the case. There may be times when I cover more than one game in a video. It's going to depend upon how long those videos wind up and how much information I can get into in that video. Also, how much time and bandwidth I want to spend on one particular game and or series. If you want to learn more about the Neo Geo, please check out my Neo Geo deep dive video. And of course, I'll have some other videos as well as my Famicom Disk System video. And we're going to be continuing our Neo Geo coverage next week. If you'd like to see more videos with better content, would you kindly like, subscribe, and ring the bell? If you have any suggestions, corrections, or questions, please sound off in the comments. Every comment, like, and subscribe helps me to make this channel bigger and better. In my last video, I did make one error. I said there was a board-breaking minigame in Fatal Fury. As it turns out, I was thinking of a bonus stage from the original Street Fighter, and I got them confused. If you catch any errors in this episode, please tell me in the comments so I can go ahead and correct myself. I'll be trying something new soon. I'll be doing my narration on camera starting in the next few weeks. I just had knee surgery, so it might be a little while, but stay tuned for that and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss it. Today we're talking about Real Bout Fatal Fury, which was released to arcades in December of 1995 on the Neo Geo MVS arcade system. Takashi Nishiyama continues his brilliant work on this series. Nishiyama is the same man who created the original Street Fighter, as well as arcade classics Moon Patrol, Kung Fu Master, Art of Fighting, King of Fighters, and Metal Slug. Eikichi Kawasaki, founder of SNK, is also credited as a producer on this title. Real Bout Fatal Fury picks up where Fatal Fury 3 had left off. Geese Howard has now obtained all three of the magical Jin Scrolls and ordered them to be destroyed by Billy Kane, rather than using them to gain immortality. This would probably be a mistake because Geese finally gets his comeuppance and in the end is killed by Terry. Once and for all, Geese is finally defeated at the end of this game. Now, it's worth noting that the scrolls probably did not actually grant immortality, as the Fatal Fury 3 ending reveals that they did not do what the Jin brothers thought that they would do. If you want to see a little bit more about Fatal Fury 3, be sure to watch my last video in which I covered the first 4 games in the Fatal Fury series. I didn't get to go as in-depth as I would have liked. We'll be going a lot more in-depth with Real Bout Fatal Fury today. The characters of Real Bout Fatal Fury are Terry Bogard, the hero of Fatal Fury. He is an orphan who was adopted by Jeff Bogard, who was then killed by Geese Howard. Terry is the titular Hungry Wolf. He is the brother of Andy Bogard, but it's never quite made clear whether that is by birth or adoption. Since his father's death, it has been Terry's mission to avenge his father. Andy Bogard travels to Japan to train in order to become strong enough to fight Geese Howard and avenge the death of Jeff Bogard. He is trained in the Shiranui Ryu Ninjutsu and is romantically involved with Mai Shiranui. Joe Higashi is a Muay Thai champion. He's meant to be the comic relief of the heroic trio. He is Japanese born but spent most of his life in Thailand. He becomes friends with the Bogards when he first learns about the King of Fighters tournament back in the original Fatal Fury. Mai Shiranui is a character whose sexuality is very important to her storyline. She's modeled after famous Japanese idols Fumie Hosokawa and Aijima. Her look and movements are based on the idea that she uses her sexuality to charm and befuddle her opponents. Mai is the granddaughter of Hanzo Shiranui, master of ninjutsu and Hopoken. This kunoichi is trained with Jubei Yamada and is the paramour of Andy Bogard. Her involvement in the story is centered around her romance with Andy. Blue Mary. Her real name is Mary Ryan. She lost her father and her boyfriend Butch to a mission in the Secret Service. Mary fights as a freelancer and becomes friends with Terry Bogard during the course of her many misadventures. Bob Wilson is the student of Richard Meyer from the original Fatal Fury and is an expert in capoeira. He also helps to run the Pow Pow Cafe. He's a very cheerful and carefree character. Han Fu is basically Jackie Chan. He's a detective from Hong Kong, but he talks like he's from Brooklyn. He joins the King of Fighters tournament in pursuit of Yamazaki, but always somehow manages to become distracted or thrown off the scent of his prey. Sokak Mochizuki is a Buddhist monk whose clan is at perpetual war with the Shiranui. He is also a demon hunter who seeks to destroy the Jin Scrolls as he believes that they are demonic. Franco Abash is a retired kickboxer. Yamazaki kidnapped his son to force him to fight again, during which time he served as Yamazaki's right-hand man. Once Yamazaki was defeated in Fatal Fury 3, Franco made a comeback and returned to fighting full-time. Kim Kapuan is a Taekwondo master, and he fancies himself a hero of justice who first appeared in Fatal Fury 2 after being invited to the tournament by Krauser. He became good friends with Terry at that time and has fought alongside him ever since. Duck King is a dancer who has been a competitor in King of Fighters tournament since Fatal Fury 1, always striving to be as good a fighter as Terry. Jin Chonshu, the elder Jin brother, is very important to the story of Fatal Fury 3 and Real Bout Fatal Fury. Possessed by a 2,000-year-old ancestor, he knows the scrolls are in Southtown and seeks to obtain the scrolls and resurrect his ancestor. His younger brother, Jin Chonrei, has a similar backstory, and at the end of Fatal Fury, it is revealed that these scrolls most likely do not hold the power to resurrect their ancestors, and that these two twins are most likely delusional and insane. Their involvement in Real Bout Fatal Fury is a little bit of a mystery, though, because once these scrolls have been destroyed, there's really no point in them being there anymore. Billy Kane is one of the bosses, and he is Geese's right-hand man. He is playable in this game. Billy is an orphan who was adopted by Geese, and he acts as his champion during each of the King of Fighters tournaments. He overthrew Krauser to bring back Geese after Fatal Fury 2. Ryuji Yamazaki, another boss character, is also an orphan. He's from Okinawa, and he joined the Yakuza to escape a miserable life under military occupation. After watching the brutal murder of his boss, an insane second personality emerged. Yamazaki eventually was hired by the Jin brothers to protect them and help them obtain the scrolls in Fatal Fury 3. The final boss, Geese Howard, the big bad of the Fatal Fury series, he is the crime boss of Southtown. He has come back from the dead, and he obtained the Jin Scrolls only to establish dominance over Southtown. He has since had the scrolls destroyed, and he's now holding another King of Fighters tournament to cement his grasp over Southtown and defeat Terry once and for all. The control system for Real Bout is a little bit revamped from Fatal Fury 3. In this game, A and B are still light punch and kick respectively, but heavy punch and kick have been combined into a single button so that D could be dedicated to the oversway system. It's a little bit awkward, and I sometimes find myself accidentally overswaying when I mean to kick someone, but overall it works. And when I talk about the oversway system, I'm talking about the system where a character can move to the foreground or the background at any time in order to involve themselves in a little bit of a mini game, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that shortly. Real Bout was released after the first King of Fighters and after Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, so this was a time when fighting games were beginning to have the deep and complex systems we are used to today. Just like in Fatal Fury 3, players can crawl, forward and backdash, make a small jump or a high jump, block in the air, recover from dizzy by wiggling the joystick, use a taunt when outside striking range, make a defensive attack by pressing forward and A after blocking, use chain combos, cancel into special moves, juggle opponents in the air, perform fake out and feint versions of their moves, and perform special moves that attack between planes or knock the opponent into and out of another plane. The 3-lane oversway system, just like Fatal Fury 3, allows players now to use the D button while on a sway plane to knock the opponent into the opposite sway plane. Of the 3 planes, you can only really fight in the middle plane. From the forward, front, and back planes, you can only move back to the middle plane by attacking. You can also pull the opponent back to the middle plane by using the D button. Characters in the sway planes can stay there just by moving left or right until the opponent pulls them back, or until they use an attack button to come back to the sway plane, and there are both low and high attacks, which makes the oversway mechanic something of a mini game in itself. It really does add a layer of depth to the combat, but it feels a little bit like a gimmick. There are even special moves where you can move in and out of sway planes or knock the opponent into them as well. The meter system is very similar to Fatal Fury 3. There are 3 levels: H power, S power, and P power. H power, half power, is when the meter is half full, which allows the break shot mechanic to be utilized. Break shot is a reversal, which uses a special move executed while blocking. The S power can be used once the gauge is full. That is a super move. The power bar will drain once it hits this point, and the move will drain it completely, so you only have a very short window to utilize that super move. P power moves, if you have full meter and a red life bar, can be performed. P power moves, or power supers, are different and more devastating than their regular super move counterpart, and usually have a little bit of an easier input. The super moves have a somewhat difficult input most of the time. New systems include Wake Up Recover. Some characters can press D after a knockdown on the front or back sway plane that will move them back into the middle plane. You can now perform reversals by performing a special move after blocking, and a break shot is performed by performing specific moves while blocking if the meter is at H power or higher. It is possible due to juggles and chains to have infinite combos in Real Bout, so it's very uncompetitive for that reason. It's really, once you know these infinite combos, there's really not much competition to be had anymore. They can't be broken or interrupted, and you can do 100% damage in one combo, so that kind of kills any competitive nature that the game may have had. A breakdown of the characters. Terry has several long-range attacks and controls a little bit differently from a typical fighting game character. His main projectile flies along the ground instead of the air. His Burning Knuckle attack launches his entire body across the screen as though it were a projectile. His Crack Shoot move is a great way to close the distance, and his Rising Tackle is a completely vertical air counter. He also has a move that juggles the opponent in the air and slams them down to the ground. His superpower is the Power Geyser, a large explosion he creates by slamming his fist into the ground. And he is the closest thing to a true Shoto in Fatal Fury. He has a fireball and flying uppercut. He also has a flying kick that can clear the whole screen, which is useful for closing distance and for zoning. He also has a dashing elbow strike to cover the distance and a back handspring kick to make some distance. His super is a fiery flying kick, and he is my favorite character to play in Fatal Fury. Joe has a very aggressive style with long-range kicks. He has an air counter knee strike, a projectile that is as large as his character sprite, a charging kick that covers the whole screen, and a flurry of punches similar to the E-Honda 100 hand slap. His super is a giant flaming tornado that lifts the opponent into the air and slams them back to the ground. Mai Shiranui has a style similar to Andy, but instead of a fireball, she throws a paper fan. Instead of a kick, she flies across the screen with an elbow strike, which is, for some reason, called Deadly Ninja Bees. She can also throw multiple fans at a time, or strike a nearby opponent with a fiery spin attack. Mai does not have an air counter special. Her super move is a charged up version of her elbow strike. Blue Mary plays like a wrestler or grappler type character, and several of her special moves are takedowns or throws, many of which can be comboed into another move. Her super is a throw that can be also strung into multiple parts. I've never really liked playing this type of character because the style is so dependent on staying at close range, which can be very difficult to do. Some of her special moves are defensive moves that set up a counter to the enemy's attack. Bob Wilson's capoeira style is a lot of fun to play. His spinning and flipping moves feel fluid and impactful. He has a flying spin kick that juggles enemies in the air, and a ground spinning kick. His super is a flurry of windmill kicks that can easily knock the opponent out of the ring. Hanfu is a comedic character, so many of his moves include clumsy movements, silly faces, and comical gestures. He uses his nunchuck to attack his opponents. He has a nunchuck flurry and a really unique special move that starts with a kick animation, goes into him blocking a flurry of enemy strikes and then striking back. He also has a dragon punch and a kick that bounces him off the screen. His super is a brutal moving assault with his nunchuck. Sokaku Mochizuki has a wide variety of special moves, including a teleport aerial drop, attacking with a demon spirit, hurling monkeys at the opponent, and creating a copy of himself that can perform various combos. For his super move, he summons a large demon to body slam the opponent. Franco Bash looks like a wrestler type, but is actually a kickboxer. As such, his special moves include a bob and weave and a swaying evasive strike. He also has a ground projectile, an air counter, and a charging shoulder tackle. His super is a powerful overhand blow. Kim Kapwan is a taekwondo fighter and has lots of fun and effective kicking techniques, including 2 aerial kicks. His super is a spinning kick combo that starts in the air. Duck King is a dancer, so most of his moves are modified breakdancing moves. He also has a Blanca spin. His super starts with 1 input to begin dancing, and then must be followed up with one of 4 commands to complete the move. Jin Chanrei and Jin Chanshu are two separate characters, but they're virtually identical. They play a lot like Shoto characters, but their small stature makes them very difficult to hit. They can dash very quickly and have multiple types of projectile attacks as well as a dragon punch. Their super is a really powerful short-range projectile. Yuji Yamazaki has a few grab and counter moves, and one move where he can whip his arm out like a projectile. His super move is a powerful body slam. Billy Kane is deadly with his staff and can extend it across the screen both on the ground and in the air. He also has a powerful defend and counter technique and can spin his staff. His super move is a fiery staff spin. Geese Howard has a ground projectile, several counter throws, air fireballs, and a charging shoulder tackle. His super move is a violent explosion that comes up from the ground. Real Bout Fatal Fury has two unique elements when it comes to stages. First, fighters can fall off the end of any stage, causing them to lose the match. There are always barricades at the end of the stage, and hitting them or knocking the opponent into them will cause them to deteriorate and eventually break. In single-player games, each stage hosts 3 opponents, and the weather or time of day will change when the opponent changes. The order of stages is always the same regardless of which opponent is selected first. Because of this, there are only 5 stages. As always, the stages are very colorful and have lots of large, detailed elements. Overall, the graphics in this game are much improved over the previous entries. The stages are the Sound Beach stage, the West Subway, East Side Park, Southtown Bridge, and Geese Tower. Real Bout has by far the best music so far in the series. There's some real bangers here. As ever, the audio is great with lots of bone-crunching blows and anime-style callouts. Give it a listen. Real Bout Fatal Fury is an excellent step in the right direction, moving towards a legitimate competitive game. However, infinite combos and ring outs keep it from being truly competitive. Still a whole lot of fun though. Thank you for watching Risky Bitness. Next week we'll be taking an in-depth look at Real Bout Fatal Fury Special, which unlike Fatal Fury Special is an entirely new game instead of just an upgrade. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and check out my other videos on this channel. I'll be covering all kinds of retro games from all over the world, from the Famicom and NES up to as recently as the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, as well as various arcade games and platforms. Going forward, my first video each month will be a deep dive into a featured system hardware, and subsequent videos will be retro review and or analysis videos for specific games. Let me know what you thought about the length and content of this video. Was it too long, just right, too short? Was the content too in-depth, not in-depth enough? Did you like the character breakdowns, dislike them? Let me know in the comments so I can make the future videos better and more entertaining for everybody. Thank you very much, and until next time, game over.